The people I know that know about meningitis are the ones whose friends or family have been really badly affected by it. Someone they know's passed away from it, a student, which is really sad. If you'd have said it to me beforehand, I might have known, but I wouldn't fully have known what that entailed. So I want to say no, really. Not enough to protect myself. I'm Alice Jenkins, I'm 20 and I'm at university. We just finished all of our exams, so we were celebrating, going out, going shopping, having fun. On the Tuesday evening, I fell asleep really early, kind of like 7 or 8 o'clock. And then I woke up on the Wednesday and I found it quite hard to move. Like my body was really sore. I just felt so ill. I was meant to be coming home the next day, so I was meant to be packing, but I literally couldn't do anything. I don't know when I noticed the rash. I sat up in my bed and there were spots on my arms. I could see them on my legs and on my stomach. I FaceTimed my mum and I got a bit worked up. I started crying and I was saying that I didn't feel well. And she said, well, get a glass. I put it on the rash and nothing was happening. And she was like, right, call A&E. And I was like, no, I'm not calling A&E. I didn't want to be a burden. And I was like, I'm fine, it'll be fine, just sleep it off kind of thing. And she was like, no, call A&E, call A&E. I got into the ambulance with the paramedics and they said they were just going to do a quick review first. So they did lots of tests. They said to me, they were like, well, you seem fine, you know, you're having a panic attack. They thought my mum had stressed me out. But they were like, the only concern is the rash. But you could go and see your GP tomorrow if you want, or you can come in with us tonight. And I was like, well, I'll come in with you tonight because I want to go home tomorrow. I was sat in the hospital and I was alone and I brought my Percy Pig toy. That's when it started to feel a bit scary. I was getting texts from my friends being like, why are you at A&E? I wanted to talk to my friends, but I didn't want to scare them. And my best friend Kirsten was like, coming. And I was like, no, don't come. And she was like, no, I am. From then, I always say like, it gets very blurry. I kind of remember certain things, but I don't really remember how I got to where, like, any of those places. The next time I remember, I woke up and I was lying flat on a hospital bed in the middle of a hallway. I must have been in A&E. I could hear lots going on around me, you know, lots of people in distress. And I couldn't really move. I was kind of just lying there. I remember waking up and my friend Kirsten was above me and she trying to get me to eat some biscuits, which I think I threw up almost immediately, like bile, and it was black. And Kirsten was like stressed about me and I could see that. I think I fell asleep again. The next time I woke up, we were in somewhere completely different. It was bright, it was daylight, and there were like 5 doctors above me, and my mum was on my left. And they were talking about testing for meningitis. And that was a point where I say to mum, and she hates when I say this, but I could die so easily now. You know, I could kind of just stop bothering and I'll just die, and that it didn't seem that scary. It was kind of just like comfortable. I started to develop more symptoms that were to do with meningitis, so I kind of didn't want to open my eyes and my head was starting to really hurt, and I was developing more of the symptoms that we know. They were talking about testing for meningitis and losing limbs and paralysis and all of these things, and I was like, didn't care. Again, it was like I was there but not there. And then I remember waking up and there were IV drips in both of my arms. That's when I don't know at what point they put me on antibiotics, but I know that's what saved my life. Next day, the Friday now, that they confirmed it was bacterial meningitis. On the Saturday, I felt much better and I could eat and I could talk, and we would FaceTime my family. My cousin was crying when I was on FaceTime with her, and I was like, why is she crying? Like, I'm fine. But she was crying because she said I looked so bad, which she only tells me now. She didn't tell me at the time. My mum and dad went home that night and thought I was going to die that night. on the Tuesday, I woke up and they kind of checked my bloods and they were clear and they said I could leave. And I think my parents were a bit like, woo, reluctant for me to leave. And I was desperate to go home, desperate to just kind of break out of there, of that space. We kind of walked out and it all felt very anticlimactic. I don't think I understood how dangerous it was, whereas everyone around me, immediately once they hear I've got bacterial meningitis, they're searching it up and they're looking and they're really fearful, whereas I was fine because I didn't know what was going on. 30 to 50% of people that survive bacterial meningitis are left with long-term effects. So it's just scary to know how lucky I am. Beforehand, I am the kind of person that, if I'm ill, I'll be like, oh, my body will fix itself. Whereas now, I'm so much more vigilant, especially with my friends as well. Lots of people get ill at uni, quite ill as well, especially in first year. And I was like, just go to a doctor. They know what they're doing. They're the ones you need to put your trust in, knowing the signs and symptoms, not just for yourself, but for your friends. It makes such a difference. It's mad to think about how quickly it escalated. I hadn't have gone to hospital that evening, I would have died in my sleep. And ordinarily, if I'm not feeling well, I'll be like, well, I'll sleep it off and I'll see how I feel in the morning. You don't have that. You can't afford that with meningitis, which is not a nice thought.